Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to kick the realness. We've been waiting for this one for a minute. The man everyone has been talking about after that control verse, my bro, Kendrick Lamar is on the phone. Kendrick, how are you, sir?
What up, bro?
All right, first things first. How long did it take you to realize the level of the impact of the verse coming out? Because I know you were traveling. So when did you realize that you had set off a crazy firestorm?
It took a couple of days. I was in the UK for a second, so you can't really feel the energy out there like it'll be up in the States. But I realized I got some real good internet servers, a particular moment, and I seen like a bunch of response rates, and I knew for a fact, that I guess it inspired a few cats to get out there and do their thing.
Let's talk about what the inspiration was from the verse. I mean, my assumption was this was a verse you did a while ago. Did you think about the level of impact that it would have, or was it just a feature verse that you knocked out?
From the moment I started doing the verse, it was really just a feature verse. Just really wanted to get on there and just rap and put my best foot forward. And really just challenge myself, to write some bars. But I didn't think it'll be, whatever it's supposed to be, whatever people think it's supposed to be.
So there are two levels to this song that got everyone so charged up. Let's go one by one. First and foremost, the names that you mentioned. You mentioned a lot of people's names, people that you've worked with, and a lot of fans got very excited to hear about, to hear that competitive nature between you and these other dudes who are in the game. Was obviously, you say point blank that you're trying to have, you want it to be competitive, and you're trying to make, be number one and have Cats fans never listen to them again, and you're talking that ish. Did you hear from any of the artists you mentioned right after the fact, and were you worried that could affect relationships you have with people?
No, I ain't hear from nobody, but I wasn't worried for the fact that it affect relationships. At the end of the day, if you listen to the line, these cats that I feel like inspire the game, and they inspire to be the best, just like I feel I inspire to be the best. So if they're competitive and they respect the culture of hip hop, I don't feel like it should be any type of ill feel they should have towards it,
No, I agree. Although I'm not now, my thought is I think there's a chance some people will feel a way about it because of the fact that it garnered the attention that it did, and it put an emphasis on lyrics again. And
I can believe. Yeah, I can believe that part. Go ahead.
No, so it's like for other cats out there who are making dope music, you kind of throw this bullet out there that's like, damn, yeah, you can make dope music and be lyrical and have the whole world talking about you. And I think that will inspire people and get people a little bit tight. I mean, we don't know who that will be, but I do think that's possible.
I mean, it's like this. When you get, your Twitter, you got friends, and you got social media, put in a situation at a high level, it maybe, makes someone feel a certain way, or people just in general in the hip hop culture. So I can feel that. I can agree with that. It's rap, man, and people that I respect, they know I respect them, and the whole point of the culture is to elevate the culture at the end of the day.
Now, let's talk specifically about what was a big deal in New York, even though, frankly, I thought it was stupid because I thought people took it too seriously. I thought my assumption was you were just spitting that yin yang and referencing a corrupt line from a while back. But when you said the King of New York line, and when you replaced Biggie's name and said Kendrick, Jay-Z, and Nas, there are people in New York who certainly seem to feel uncomfortable and like you overstepped some sort of boundary. How would you respond to those listeners?
Man, it made me go back in and made me feel like I gotta probably dumb down my lyrics nowadays, for the people to take it away out of context the way they did. But the irony behind it all is, the main heads that really understood the context of the line was the actual kings of New York, the cats that I've sat down with this past, week. And really got an understanding that, the It's not about the coast. It's not about, what side we on. It's about being great. As Biggie, as Pac, the two cats that I referenced, from jump, and I feel like I'm a student. I'm a student of, the work that they did. And eventually when I put down 20 years in the game, I can eventually plant my foot and have that same type of legacy. But, for people that try to make it out into something that is not, I never take the history behind what Pac laid or what B.I.G. laid. And to keep it 100 with you, Snoop will always be number one, and I'm from the West Coast, and he gave me that, but out of respect for my big homie, I understand it. He laid down. I only got one album out, homie. One album out. I got years to be doing this. So at the end of the day, Snoop will always be my big homie. And the legends that came before me, they will always stand tall where they at. But I can't stop myself from wanting to be great just like them.
I know you saw Jay-Z. What did Jay? I know, and I heard from Ebro that Jay was a fan of the verse. What did Jay tell you?
I mean, that's classified between me and him. But it was all love, all respect. Same way with Diddy, and the same way with a few other cats. I won't get up into all that, but at the end of the day, man, I feel as though you have certain cats that really gonna take it to the next level and make it a rivalry thing, and try to bring back that old thing. No, that's old school, homie. Nobody do that. We about here, black men out here trying to, uplift the culture. My first show that I saw was in New York. You know what I'm saying? So I always looked at that place as a place that respected me and my lyrics, and me respecting the culture and the birthplace of it. You know what I'm saying? So I think the ones that really took it out of context was the people that we know want to grab an opportunity that's off the fact of the hype of the record, rather than actually tuning in and listening and knowing how hungry I am. A lot of people think it's about talent. That's where they get it wrong. I'm saying I'm the most hungry in it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I respect the legends in the game. I respect, you dig what I'm saying, people that done it before me. People that lost their lives over this. You know what I'm saying? So because of what they laid down, I'm gonna try to work out harder, and breathe it and live it. And that's the point of the whole verse, what I was trying to convey through that verse. All the ignorance behind it, we can kill that noise. It'll never be like that again with two coast rivals. Not on my behalf. You know what I'm saying? Not while I'm doing this. And I think the OGs in the game will want that anyway. They want that competitive nature back and no bloodshed over, you feel me? I'm way too wise and I'm way too polished to not get caught up in the hype of the media. But what I'm scared is cats that's not that polished and they getting caught up in what their Twitter responses are saying, what they homies around them saying, and people gassing them up, and they try to take it to the next level. Nah, that's not G. That's not gangster. You know what I'm saying?
So, there were a lot of rebuttal responses to Control. I had an argument with Papoose on the air last week, and I'm not sure if you heard it, but Pap, of course, reps for Brooklyn and New York very hard, and I thought he went almost a little bit too hard at you on his response and went a different way with it. But I'm curious, what were your thoughts about the Papoose response?
Oh man, I thought it was comical. If anything, had me laughing. But not only that, I respect the game, and I understand. When opportunity presents itself, you got to make a way for yourself. You know what I'm saying? That was a perfect opportunity to go out there and make a response and get that buzz. And he got that buzz going for himself. So at the end of the day, I want to see everybody eating. And ain't no ill will. He eating up for it. He can go out and rock shows and get proper response. That's all love. But I figured as a comical joint, had me cracking up over there and a few things he was saying. Going back to like 05, 06, man, TD, he was gunning after anything to get that attention on us. You know what I'm saying?
So you would have done the same thing in a few years back.
Hell, yeah. we made a few mistakes like that. That got us a little bit of a backlash. I won't speak on it. But definitely, man, we was out there hungry, so anything that presented itself, we went at it, and that's just the mind of a hustle, man. In a business, the music business and the streets, you know, you see it right there, go get it, you know, no matter how you get it. So I hope that, you know, it's working in his favor, man. They continue to, you know, do its thing.
So you are flattered. Overall, you're flattered, and you're able to take in the moment because, Dot, let me tell you, it was a moment. Like, it was a 72-hour period. I do not remember the last time people talked about lyrics that much in years. And I think that's something to really be proud of because us people that really live for the culture, it was just fun to have a conversation about something that matters in the game.
Yeah, man, definitely. You know, just rappers getting back in the booth, you know, and responding to that verse, you know, it's a crazy deal for me. And there's a lot of people put them dope verses on there.
Did you like which ones do you like? Are there any verses you actually heard and were like, I like this is fire?
Yeah, I like the Los verse. Joe Budden did his thing. Joel. A lot of people with different approaches. You know, I like everybody. They had their different approaches. They were stating their facts and stating how they feel. Joey had the you know, facts in his verse. A few things that he felt. That Poos had the comical joint. Nose was flipping his words, you know, and you know, putting that spunk on it. I think he had the killer thing though. Yeah, Los.
So Los was your favorite joint. Interesting.
Yeah, Los killed it out of everybody. But the number one joint at the top of the list. At the top of the list had to be Chocolate Drop.
Oh, Chocolate Drop. I saw that. That was that little short crazy dude, right?
Yeah, Kevin Hart. that dude funny. You know, he made light of the situation. You know, because after a while, you know, it started to become a little bit oversaturated. Nah,
son. You took that the wrong way. I don't think he was joking. I think Kevin wants war, yo.
He probably do. But I like what he did though. You know, because after a while it becomes so oversaturated and so corny. After a while, you know, you need to put that light and that touch back on it. You know what I'm saying? I start to feel like Hacker Shack a little bit.
So, in addition to all the responses there have been on record, obviously this is something a lot of people have spoken about. Did you see anyone, you know, any of your fellow peers in hip hop speak on the verse in a way that you thought was interesting or compelling?
Oh yeah, the Mano interview I caught up on. It made a lot of sense because that's the same way, you know, me being from LA, you know, and my rap peers around me. That's how we used to feel about our radio, as far as people, the radio supporting us, or you know, just stations in general. What did
Mano say exactly for people who missed it?
I think he was speaking on, you know, New York supporting their artists, you know, radio stations supporting their artists and things like that of that nature. And it made me go back to how me being an LA artist, how we used to feel the same thing. And it was really, I had to check myself, you know, and look in the mirror and say, you know what? Even if radio, you know, don't know who I am, don't want to get out here and support it, I still have to make the best of what I have as far as my music and spreading it out. So I basically looked in the mirror and I sat back and reevaluated my whole situation. And when I did that, I sold out my first show in LA with no radio. I sold out my first show in New York, you dig what I'm saying, with no radio. And it just brought me back to that because I totally agree. I totally agree with what he was saying, you know, as far as the people supporting. It's really not the radio, but the people, you know what I'm saying, supporting. I didn't have a song on the radio, but when I went out in the streets in LA, the people actually stood behind me.
I have to be realistic with you too, and with the New York audience, because I go to more underground New York hip hop shows than just about anyone. I was at a few this week alone. The fact is, the scene in LA, for as phony as LA is on like the commercial level, the underground scene in LA has always remained pretty vibrant, and like cats come out and support local LA music. Like that's something that's actually existed through a lot of these lean years in New York. Y'all have really consistently kind of remained more of a supportive community, and I think that's something New York needs to keep in mind, if we're hoping that in the coming months and years we're to get a rapper, one of our rappers, to the spot that you're in, it's going to require the kind of support you were receiving from the people back in LA.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. I definitely agree with that. But from what his perspective, what he was saying, it was basically saying, yo, let's look ourselves, let's look in the mirror and reflect, right now, rather than, reaching out on the opportunity, on the hype that's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? That's why I can respect, what he said on that interview more than anything. Because you have to reevaluate yourself and look in the mirror and see different avenues. I consider New York one of the most, as far as hustle, the elite, at the top, as far as hustle. You have people in the corner, you have different avenues, you have the labels, you have streets, and how to maneuver through them avenues, that makes you stand out as an artist, and to reflect on that, for him to be from New York, that's a bold statement. It's true. Some people hate the truth, the same way we used to hate the truth in L.A.
Nah, you're right. That's a very good point. Shout out to Mano. So real quick, of course, we have Rock the Bells coming up in New York, October 4th and 5th. I'll be hosting. All Black Hippie is going to be there. Are you excited about doing a huge New York show after all of this?
Definitely, man. New York's probably one of my favorite places to go to. Just off the vibe, off the hustle, off the way it looked. That's just that feel, that grimy look, the gloomy look. You know what I'm saying? I be in the studio, I make some of my best records. I make some of my best performances on the stage. I vibe out with some of the most, creative people out there. So, me going down there and walking them streets, man, and being on the stage. Yeah.
How's that Schoolboy Q Oxymoron album sounding?
It's crazy. It's crazy. We was out there, he played a few records. Played a few new records that I haven't heard, just because I've been gone. But, yeah, man, we competing inside our own camp. You know what I'm saying? Schoolboy Q is out to make one of them classics. Better than mine, better than anybody that's out there that put music out. So that's how we feel. That's the nature that we have, and he's doing that.
All right, last questions. How long are you planning on chilling out? Like we can almost say now that you're at the end of this Good Kid, Mad City cycle, and you're kind of going to be in that in between period. How long do you imagine you'll be on the shelf before you try to drop the next album?
Man, I don't know, man. I've been writing, been locked in, just writing thoughts down. I don't want to wait too long. But also I don't want to rush things. I want to make sure the music works. So I don't have a tentative, time of release, but I'm definitely thinking about it and working.
All right. Listen, Kendrick, thank you very much for calling, my friend. I'm going to see you in LA for Rock the Bells, and then we'll see you back here for Rock the Bells October 4th and 5th. Anything else you want to say to the good people in New York City?
Yeah. Appreciate you, fool. Appreciate the city of New York. Appreciate the rap culture, the hip hop. And one thing that I want people to take, from the verse is not just live in the moment of perfection, but the moment of perfection for the rest of your career, or the rest of the year, or in general, just in hip hop. Everything shouldn't evolve around just the hype. My whole thing is to inspire, to better people, or better myself, forever. In this thing that we call rap, this thing that we call hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So I see you stuck your head out to Rosenberg and people trying to chop your head off out there. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you understand the feeling of knowing to better the culture. And I feel that's why you took up for yourself and you took up for what hip hop really means, and that's to strive for perfection, to try to challenge each other.
Well, listen, as well as anyone does that when I first met you a couple years ago, I didn't know a whole lot about Black Hippie. I wasn't like some from the first day following everything. You won me over. You know what I'm saying? Listening to your music and hearing Section 80 and then hearing Good Kid, Mad City and watching what your movement has been as a guy who's been fighting for hip hop since I got here. it was a breath of fresh air, and everyone like me feels that way. So for me, it wasn't even sticking my neck out. It was just saying what a lot of other people already felt. And, you know, cats who weren't paying attention and don't understand what you're about, they may be tight now, but they're going to figure it out as this story gets told as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely serious about this thing, man. Definitely serious about it. You know, so as long as we keep inspiring each other, that's what it is.
My guy, Kendrick Lamar, you got a chance. You got a chance to do some major things in this game and be up there with the names that you talked about on that song. I think you have a good chance to be there, man. Just keep going the way you're going. We'll see you back here for Rock the Bells in early October.
Yeah.
You know, you want it to be competitive, and you're trying to make, you know, be number one and have Cats fans never listen to them again, and you're talking that ish. Did you hear from any of the artists you mentioned right after the fact, and were you worried that could affect relationships you have with people?
No, I ain't hear from nobody, but I wasn't worried for the fact that it affect relationships. You know, at the end of the day, you know, if you listen to the line, you know, these couple of days I was in the UK for a second, so you can't really feel the energy out there like it'll be up in the States. But I realized I got some real good internet service, you know, a particular moment, and I seen like a bunch of response rates, and I knew for a fact, you know, that I guess it inspired a few cats to get out there and do their thing.
Let's talk about what the inspiration was from the verse. I mean, my assumption was this was a verse you did a while ago. Did you think about the level of impact that it would have, or was it just a feature verse that you knocked out?
From the moment I started doing the verse, it was really just a feature verse. You know, just really wanted to get on there and just rap and put my best foot forward. And, you know, really just challenge myself, you know, to write some bars. But I didn't think it'll be, you know, whatever it's supposed to be, whatever people think it's supposed to be.
So there are two levels to this song that got everyone so charged up. Let's go one by one. First and foremost, the names that you mentioned. You mentioned a lot of people's names, people that you've worked with, and a lot of people, fans, got very excited to hear about, you know, to hear that competitive nature between you and these other dudes who are in the game. Was obviously, you say point blank that you're trying to have. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to kick the realness. We've been waiting for this one for a minute. The man everyone has been talking about after that Control verse, my bro, Kendrick Lamar is on the phone. Kendrick, how are you, sir?
What up, bro?
All right, first things first. How long did it take you to realize the level of the impact of the verse coming out? Because I know you were traveling. So when did you realize that you had set off a crazy firestorm?
It took a couple